How to hire the right digital marketing agency. Digital marketing agency selection process. Hiring a digital marketing agency is the same as hiring a marketing professional on your team. A wrong hire will affect your strategy implementation. A wrong hire will result in waste, especially in paid advertising. If you hire a wrong agency, there is a high likelihood that they're going to waste money and your sales will tank. Now, let's talk about the process of selecting a digital marketing agency. The number one process is you research. And when I say research is you go online, search for the agency, look at what they have to offer, browse the internet, use different mediums, go to meetups, attend webinars, and just try and understand what is on offer in your city, in your country, and you can even go international. So depending on your organization, if you're a local organization, you're bound to research locally. If you're a global organization, then you need to expand your research globally. So do your research and review your research. Don't be in a hurry, and make sure you have at least 5 short lists of agencies after you complete your research. The number 2 thing you need to do is that approach this short list of 5 agencies that you've shortlisted. You can even include freelance consultants there. Invite them for a phone conversation and try and get a flavor of what they have to offer. And then ask them to come on site, because you need to meet them face to face. It's not really ideal to hire an agency that is remote to you. They can work remotely, but you need to at least see them present to you. You need to kind of understand them and see what they bring to the table. And when you bring them into your office, make sure that you have other members of the organization. You have a perspective of marketing. People from your HR, people from your finance team, and customer service and other part of the organization can join on the conversation. They need to be present because marketing is the custodian of the customer. So marketing, although the marketing department is responsible for marketing, the whole organization ideally is responsible for the customer. So you need to invite members of your leadership team, the CFO, the head of HR, anybody on your leadership team, so they can give you their perspective of the different agencies that presented to you. The number 4 thing you need to do is you then need to make a decision on which agency you're going to hire. And then you need to also understand what is their onboarding process like and what is your plan to also onboard them. So the onboarding process goes both ways. The agency onboarding you and you onboarding them to understand what you're looking to achieve. Questions to consider when you're hiring a digital marketing agency or even a digital marketing consultant. The number 1 question you need to ask is, what service do we need from this digital marketing agency? Number 2 question is, what service can this digital marketing agency provide? Number 3 question, are there any alternative providers? Should we consider hiring a digital marketing agency or hiring a digital marketing consultant instead? The number 4 question you could ask is, who will I communicate with within the agency? Number 5 question is, what should I monitor? This goes back to say, when I hire this agency, what am I monitoring? That's another question you need to ask yourself. How long should the contract be? How will I know they're doing what they're supposed to do? How do I protect my investment, time, and money? Number 9 question. What industry relevant certification and accreditation do people on their team have? Number 10 question. What kind of campaign has this agency done already, focusing on B2B e-commerce, or publication websites. Number 11 question you could ask this agency is, what mix of client does this agency currently have on their books? Number 12 question, what range of budget do they currently manage? Number 13 question to consider is, what is the composition of their marketing technology stack? What marketing tools do they have? You need to ask them this question. And number 14 question is, does this agency fee structure link to results? Now, these are the 14 questions you need to consider. I'm going to go into detail and analyze each question and help you with your thought process when you're asking this question, what you need to be thinking as an in-house person. A lot of the content out there that discusses about how to hire an agency is looking at the hiring process and the selection process from the perspective of the agency. So most agencies will put out content and blog telling you how to hire an agency. So those contents are kind of structured in a way to favor them. But I'm looking at this from an in-house person's perspective, what you need to think about, what questions you need to kind of ruminate on before you hire an agency. Now let's go into the 14 questions and I'll go into them in more detail. Question number 1, when you're hiring a digital marketing agency, what service do we need from a digital marketing agency? So before you go out there, you need to kind of look inwardly, look at your internal team, look at the skills you have present. Sometimes you have skills internally, but the skill you have internally is not as advanced as you would like it to be. You could have like an SEO, a search engine optimization executive. You could have like a PPC executive. Those people have the skill, but they don't have that level of experience if you want to compete at a high level. So sometimes you're hiring an agency to help you increase the productivity, capacity, and skill within your team. So before you go out to hire an agency, you first need to evaluate what service and what skill is missing within your organization. A very important skill that is missing in most marketing team is conversion rate optimization. So if you have a digital marketing team that you have SEO, you have PPC, you have social, you have everything, but you don't have landing page optimization, then that's something you need to look at. If you don't have a good understanding of web analytics, then that's something you need to look at. So look inwardly and look at what skills you need before you go out to hire an agency. And then when you're talking to the agency, you need to be aware that an agency will always tell you they can provide a service you ask them to provide, even if they cannot provide it. So you need to be very, very careful how you approach the agency. First, understand what service you need internally, and then research the agency that can provide that service. What service can the digital marketing agency provide? After you've evaluated what you need internally, when you start researching, you need to understand there are two types of agency. Number 1 is a full service agency. A full service agency is an agency that has search engine optimization, paid advertising, social media, web analytics, email marketing. They're full in terms of capability. They have all the skill sets, all the requirements you need for an end-to-end digital marketing execution. But the problem with this is very few agencies have this offering. Although some will put out on their website that they're a full service agency, there's always elements of concentration. What I mean by this is some of them are very, very strong, maybe with PPC. They have more members in terms of more manpower in some area than the others. You need to understand where a full service agency is very strong at and where they're weak at. So because an agency say they're a full service agency doesn't mean they're very strong in all the services they offer. Some are stronger than the other, so you need to understand that. The second type of agency is called a single service agency. And a good example is an agency that offers paid search advertising. So this kind of agency, they don't have any other capability. They just focus on one thing. And that makes them a little bit siloed. So you need to be very, very careful. If you have all the skills that you need internally, and the only thing that you're missing is maybe paid search advertising, then you can work with a single service agency to help you fill that gap. But understand that a single service agency will not understand the end-to-end customer purchase journey because they are just siloed and single focus. So you need to be very, very careful with the single service agency. You have a paid search advertising agency that doesn't have web analytics, conversion optimization, that doesn't understand email marketing. So marketing is not a single channel. So if you go with a single service agency, there's always that risk that they just siloed and one track minded, if I can use that word. Question number 3. Are there any alternative providers? So when you're looking to hire an agency, you need to ask yourself that question. Do we need an agency or do we need a consultant? So you have one option. You could hire a digital marketing agency or you could hire a digital marketing consultant. There are pros and cons to this. A digital marketing agency will have all the skills you need if it's a full service agency. A digital marketing consultant, you can find some that have a T-shaped skill. They have expertise in SEO, PPC, social media, web analytics. They're very, very hands-on. So you need to kind of look at the cost and benefits. From an agency perspective, you're not just paying for the agency's expertise, you're also paying for their overheads, you're paying for a lot of things. So although a digital marketing agency might be more expensive, it's because they have added costs and overhead, while a digital marketing consultant will have the flexibility to work with you on site. I'm a little bit biased with this comparison because I'm a digital marketing consultant, but you can make up your mind. Would you rather hire an agency that charges you close to £1,000 per day, or would you rather hire a marketing consultant that charges you a little bit above half of that? So you need to look at the experience, look at the skill level, look at both sides and then make up your mind. But you have two options: a digital marketing agency or a digital marketing consultant. Number 4 question: who will I communicate with within the agency? So are you going to be talking to people that are doing the actual work, or are you going to be talking to the client director or manager? So you need to understand that if your communication loop goes through a client manager or client director to the people doing the actual work, and then back from the people doing the actual work through the manager, so you have diluted communication, the value, sometimes things will go wrong. I'm talking from experience. So you need to clarify. My recommendation is to speak directly to the people doing the actual work, because if you're engaging with the client director, that's extra cost for you, because then you're going to be paying for the client director's time. So why would you pay for the people doing the work and then the client manager who will be managing your account? So these are the pros and cons that you need to clarify when you're kind of going through that process of hiring an agency. Make sure that you're not just paying for people from an agency perspective that are not really adding any value. So that's one thing to consider as well. Number 5 question that you need to ask is, what should I monitor? There's something called vanity metrics. It's very possible that your agency would always try to feed you with metrics that don't matter. So you need to kind of ask yourself that question: how does the activity of your agency link to value, link to improvement in revenue, and other very important metrics that you want to track? So you also need to understand how you're going to monitor the task execution. What did they say they're going to do and how are they doing it? Clarify with the agency how you're going to monitor the task execution, and also look at the speed at which they execute what they promise they're going to execute. And then, as I mentioned earlier, evaluate the impact as well. Number 6 question is, how long should a contract be? This is a very good question. Sometimes you can hire an agency on retainer. It's just the way things go. Some organization will work with an agency for 1 to 3 years, retainer. Some will go with 6 to 12 months. And you also have the option of going on a project base. So you look at what you have on your team from a skills perspective. You look at what needs to be done, and then you evaluate between these 3 options. Working with this agency, should we just do like a project kind of engagement, or should we engage them with 12 to 6 months? Whatever you decide, make sure you have that flexibility to get out of the engagement, that you're protected. So if the agency is not offering value that you're expecting from them, then you have an exit clause, a termination clause that gives you that flexibility to switch to another agency. But in my opinion, working with agency on a project base is much flexible. Say, for example, you need a website audit, you need a keyword research, you need all this thing. You don't necessarily have to tie yourself to an agency for 6 months or 12 months. If you have a project that needs completed and you know that, okay, this is just going to take like 2-3 months, you hire them for those periods. The billing might be a little bit higher, but then you have that flexibility to just work with them on a project by project basis. And then you have the flexibility of also maybe having a freelance digital marketing consultant on a retainer for a few days per month. So you just need to look at, is it cost effective to have an agency on a retainer for a long period, or is it working with them on a project basis? Based on what your requirements and your internal team structure, you can make a decision based off of that. Number 7 question, how will I know they're doing what they're supposed to do? So before you start the engagement with the agency, you need to ask them, what is your process of working with clients? You need to ask them to kind of itemize and list out what they're going to do with you. So you should have that written down, signed and approved, and then the more they work with you, then you need to kind of revert back to that agreement and look at, are they doing what was listed there? If they're not doing that, then you know you have a problem and you might need to kind of switch and hire another agency. But have that clear-cut agreement on the deliverables with them from the start. And that deliverables, you need to ask them, what do they deliver to clients? And you need to look at what you need delivered from your internal requirements, merge that together, and then let that be your yardstick to measure their performance, to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Number 8 question, how do I protect my investment, time, and money? Agencies sometimes have the tendency to react to clients that shout the most. So if you have an agency you work with and you're not on top of things, they have the tendency to only focus on the customers that are very, very aggressive on them. So you need to kind of set up a framework where you're having regular conversations with them. You set up like weekly meetings. You make sure that you're really, really seeing what they're delivering on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and a monthly basis. You're just not assuming that, oh, they're working. They need to be kind of showing you the progress of what they're doing. At the beginning of the week, they let you know, this is what we're going to be working on. And then you monitor that. Have they done it? Have they executed it? And just, you also need to be very, very, very careful. You need to get someone that is a subject matter expert as well to kind of help you review the agency activities. Look, for example, from an SEO perspective, an agency can easily tell you keyword research is going to take a month. But if you bring in an expert that understands keyword research, they'll be able to tell you this shouldn't take more than a week, depending on the size of your website. So those kind of gray area, you need to have like a third party that is a subject matter expert, maybe a digital marketing consultant, to kind of help you monitor that agency if you don't have that expertise in-house. Because if the agency understands that you don't have the expertise, then there is no way for you to know what is good and what is bad, and know how you won't be able to protect yourself because you don't know what good looks like, because it's not your expertise. An example is a CEO that hires an agency. The CEO might not have any background in digital marketing, so it's easy for the agency to bamboozle that CEO or to bamboozle the CFO if you don't have an internal marketing expertise monitoring the agency. So that's a gray area that you need to think about, how you need to protect your investment from a time and money perspective. Number 9 question. What industry relevant certification and accreditation do people on their team have? So this is very, very important. You need to look at the agency and look at the people doing the actual work. So within the agency, you can have very, very young intern, fresh out of school, working on your campaign. That is good, but it also have a bad side, because if those people don't have the level of experience that you need, then why are you hiring an agency? What I mean is, if you hire an agency and pay them thousands of pounds or dollars, and then they go around and hire someone fresh out of university to work on your multi-million pound or multi-$1,000 campaign, then it doesn't make sense. From an agency perspective, it makes sense for them because they're trying to reduce costs. They're not going to go out and hire someone very expensive and very experienced to do the work. So that's where they make their profit from. But from a client's perspective, it doesn't really work in your favor. So the only way you can protect yourself is kind of evaluate the people that are actually working on your campaign. So who within the agency is working on your campaign? What are their certification? What are their qualifications? Don't make the mistake to evaluate the qualification, certification, accreditation of the senior people within the agency, because those people are primarily responsible for business development, client proposal, client management. They don't do the actual work. So you need to clarify within the team, what accreditations do you have? If you're hiring an agency for paid search advertising, you want to know that the people working in your paid search campaign have relevant certifications, qualification. You need to look at them like you're hiring someone internally, although they're on the agency side, but you need to scrutinize them and make sure that they have the relevant marketing background. They have what it takes to help you succeed with your marketing efforts. And then you look at the skill distribution. Do they have just siloed skills, or do they have T-shaped people on their team? What I mean by T-shaped skill is someone that has a deep understanding in one digital marketing channel, and then a reasonable level of understanding and experience across other channels. So someone that is an SEO expert but can work in PPC, can work in analytics. Those are the kind of people that you want to work on your campaign, because then they understand the end-to-end purchase journey of your customers. Number 10 question. What kind of campaign has the agency done already? Focusing on B2B, e-commerce, publication, and websites. So basically what I'm trying to say here, when you're asking this agency the questions like this, you need to look at, are they experienced in e-commerce or are they experienced in B2B? The bulk of agency, I would say maybe 80% of agencies out there are B2B focused. Sorry, the bulk of agency out there are B2C focused. So if you're working in a B2C and then you hire an agency that is primarily experienced in B2B, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because people will always say, oh, marketing is not B2B or B2C, it's people to people. Yes, it's people to people. But an experienced person in marketing knows that there's a very, very wide difference between B2B marketing and B2C, especially B2B that is complex sales. So you need to hire an agency that understands that difference. So you need to look at what they actually work on. Is 80% of their clients B2C, and you're in the B2B space? That is something that they will come to you and say, oh, we can do it. We've worked with big clients. Working with big clients doesn't necessarily mean they can work on your campaign if you're working in a different sector or a different space and they don't have that experience that you're looking for. So try and ask and clarify what kind of campaigns does the agency has worked on, and make sure that helps in your decision to hire the agency. Number 11 question is, what mix of clients does the agency currently have? Again, it goes back to the previous question. You then look at the mix of the clients that they have and look at the size of the client. This is also important to understand. Are they more focused on local clients? Do they work with international clients? Because an agency that has the bulk of client that is one country specific will not necessarily understand international SEO, international B2B marketing, international B2C marketing. So you need to kind of look at the mix of clients that they have. Is it very, very local, very, very niche, global? So that kind of will help you understand that, do they even understand your business? If they've never worked with multinational companies, complex sales process, then you're making the wrong decision if you hire an agency that doesn't have that kind of client mix within their books. And number 12 question is, what range of budget do they currently manage? So some agency are working with clients that make less than 10 million, 20 million. And if you're an organization that makes 400, 500, and you need to just kind of understand, are they able to manage big budgets? Will it kind of scare them? So you don't want to give an agency that is not manage huge budgets your campaign when they don't have that experience. So try and understand the kind of budgets they've managed, especially with paid search advertising, because the higher the budget, the higher the number of people they might need to work on your campaign. So if they have people working on small campaigns that is not very time intensive, then you give them a huge budget that an agency would never tell you no. They will take your budget, they will take your money, and they'll say we can work on it. But you need to be careful with understanding the budget range that they've handled before, and make sure you ask them. You don't tell them your budget. You ask them, okay, what is the budget range you've worked on? And then from there you can get a feel of if they can manage your campaign. What is the composition of their marketing technology stack? Be careful with agencies that tell you they have their own proprietary tools or proprietary tools. These agencies have the tendency of white labeling other enterprise software solutions. So make sure you probably want to have all your tools internally, because if you decide to switch from one agency to the other, you have ownership of your tool internally. So I would recommend working with your own tools internally rather than focusing and letting an agency convince you based on the MarTech stack that they have. So as an in-house marketer, you want to own all your tools and your marketing technology internally. And the number 14 question is, does the agency's fee structure link to results? This is a very, very strong one. So that's why the project-based approach to pricing is better. So if you hire an agency, it's on a project, a short, small work for them to do for you. If they don't deliver value, then you don't hire them again. So that's why it's very, very very, very difficult when you're tied into a 3-year, 2-year retainer with an agency that is not offering value. So my recommendation is to make sure that you have a kind of conversation with them and offer them incentive that, oh, if we see significant results with what you're doing, we will give you a bonus. So that kind of helps them motivate themselves to kind of deliver value. But some agencies are just not very, very interested in satisfying the customers. So you just need to be careful with that. So my conclusion is, going back to the two options, you have the option of hiring a digital marketing consultant, because from a digital marketing agency perspective, someone will work as an account exec for 6 months, probably get promoted to a manager, and then they rise quickly to the top. And then the senior people don't have that hands-on experience. Whereas in the case of a marketing consultant, if a marketing consultant is a focus on SEO, for example, or web analytics, they are very hands-on and they have that practical experience. So you might be getting more value hiring a digital marketing consultant on a project-by-project basis, or hiring a digital marketing agency and then you get to pay for more overheads. So that's the two difference. So my recommendation is, when you're looking to hire a digital marketing agency, also consider hiring a well-experienced digital marketing consultant, because agencies sometimes hire a digital marketing consultant. So if you go to an agency and you want a particular service that they don't offer, they will turn around and hire and subcontract that work to a digital marketing consultant and then bill you for it. So I just want you to be aware that that option is also out there. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm a digital marketing consultant. So if you're looking to hire a digital marketing agency and you don't have a huge budget to pay those big agency, reach out to me. My name is Femi Olajiga and I'll be glad to help you. Also, check out my book, Lean Agile Marketing. It's available on Amazon. So as an in-house team, if you're looking to get more value from your agency, then you need to work with them in an agile way. So you create processes that will make sure that your agency is reporting in a timely fashion. There's transparency. You're able to track progress, and you can improve agency collaboration by implementing Lean Agile way of working. Reach out to me if you want to learn more about agile marketing and how to use that methodology to get the most from your agency. And for more information on digital marketing consultancy service, visit my website www.cxconversion.com and connect with me on LinkedIn as well. Thank you.